Hey everyone, welcome to the top 10 list. Welcome to my top 10 favorite horror movies of the 1980s, from 1980 to 1989. Yes, as you saw in my last videos, I did my favorite horror films of the decade, 2000s, 90s, all leading to the classic era of horror. Now it's time for my favorite decade ever of film, and especially horror movies, the 1980s. A decade I wish I was born in. A little bit close, just so close. 1991, by the way. 1980s horror films are like my favorite horror films of all time, and it was hard to make this top 10 list, but if you guys know my videos very well, I've talked about all these films before, and you all probably know what films are on this top 10 list if you can really piece it together. But yeah, who gives a shit? Let's have fun with this. This is my top 10 favorite horror movies of the 1980s, from 1980 to 1989. And as always, before a top 10 list, you gotta have your honorable mentions. My honorable mentions are The Evil Dead, Day of the Dead, Child's Play, The Fly, Near Dark, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and The Fog. Great horror films, just gonna make the top 10 list, but my top 10 was my number 10. My number 10 is more of a childlike horror film. It is good for the whole family, but it's still classified as a horror film, and that's Gremlins. Yeah, Gremlins is considered a Christmas horror film. I'll count it. It's great. It's amazing. It's Gremlins. It's directed by Joe Dante. His best film ever. It's just a really cool story. It's cute. It's adorable, but it's also really dark and kind of fucked up. I like the characters. The dark story of Phoebe Cates with the Santa Claus and her dad. That is twisted as shit. The Mob Boys are creepy. Gizmo is adorable. It's got action. It's got thrills. It's got goriness. It has a scene where the mother puts a gremlin in a microwave and it explodes. What more can you ask for? It's Gremlins. Coming in number 9 is also kind of debatable if it's a horror film. It's classified as action horror, and that's Aliens. Alien is a horror film. Aliens, more of an action film, but I'll still count it as action horror. I love Aliens. Alien I love more, but Aliens is 80s. Alien, you'll see in another video. Aliens is fantastic. I love what they did with the story. I love Ellen Ripley years later. She has to deal with her past and stuff, deal with the xenomorphs again. They have to go back on LV-426 with a lot of badass soldiers and take them out and take down the Queen. Sigourney Weaver actually was nominated for an Oscar for this movie. She is so good. I love the soldiers. I love Hicks. I love Hudson. I love Vasquez. All of these characters are great characters. Michael Biehn's great. Bill Paxton, rest in peace, man, is great in this movie. A lot of great performances. I love Newt. Newt's awesome. And of course, Ripley is a great, compelling character. She is so badass in this movie. The action's great. The practical effects are great. The xenomorphs are still scary as fuck. I still think the first one's more scarier because it's more claustrophobic, because it's just these people on a ship with a xenomorph and they have no weapons. These are soldiers taking aliens out. It's still badass, it's still creepy at times, and it's still an amazing film. I know everyone says Aliens is better than Alien, which, it's debatable. Aliens is an amazing film, but I like Alien a little more, but I still love Aliens. I still love Aliens. Coming in number 8 is The Lost Boys. The Lost Boys, directed by Joel Schumacher. Yes, Joel Schumacher. Don't ever give him a Batman movie. Great film. It's a great Batman. It's a great vampire movie with Kiefer Sutherland and other great performances. A very young Corey Feldman. It's got teen angst, but it's done right. It's an R-rated graphic horror film. It's a great survival film. I've talked about this movie to death, so I don't need to keep going on about it. It's a fantastic movie and an actually good vampire film that's done right. Coming in number 7 is, speaking of vampire movies done right, Fright Night. Yes, the original Fright Night. I love the remake with Anton Yelchin, David Tennant, and Colin Farrell. That is such a good movie and so underrated, it'll be a cult hit. Just like this one. This one, no one saw it. This movie came in the 80s. No one saw it. I don't know what it is about Fright Nights. People just don't want to see movies called Fright Night and shit like that. I don't get it. I love Fright Night. The remake's great. I think the remake, it's debatable of which one's better, and this one's fantastic, though. I love the 80s version of it because the characters are so different in this one than it is the remake and shit. Like, Peter Vincent in this one is like a priest and stuff, but in the remake, he's like a television host and everything, and even the way they did Jerry is way different, because a womanizer in the 80s looks different than a womanizer in the 2000s and stuff, and just, it's interesting. The dynamics of each of the films are just it's unique and everything, and yeah, I love this movie. It's got a lot of comedy, a lot of dark comedy, but it's also got a lot of great horror elements to it, and spookiness and eeriness to it, and yeah, it's just a damn great vampire film. Coming in number 6 is An American Werewolf in London. This movie is masterful, mostly for its first act, but it's still a great film. John Landis did an amazing job directing this film, and the first 25 minutes is masterful. It's perfect, actually. The first 25 minutes is perfect. The rest of it is just dark comedy and just a lot of twisted psychological shit. The guy slowly turning into a werewolf. That's basically the whole movie. It's just him slowly going mad and crazy and turning into a wolf. And then, spoilers, he turns into a wolf and shit like that. But the beginning is so good with him and his buddy. It's just them backpacking in a European country that they have no idea where they're going. They're in the woods. They keep hearing noises. They have no idea what's going on. They stop in a diner. No one wants to help them. Then they start hearing howling noises, and they have to run and stuff. They don't know what's chasing them. It's so claustrophobic and so unsettling and so scary. That's why I love this movie so much. The whole movie itself is still a very good film, but the first act is so amazing, and it is so creepy. Because when I first watched the movie, I was scared out of my mind watching the beginning of the film. Like, it is terrifying. The rest of the movie is still great, but that first act is the reason why I love this film so much, and that's why it's number 6. Coming in number 5 is Evil Dead 2. Yes, Evil Dead 2 is comedic horror, but still, it's horror. I love Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is, like, amazing. It is so great. It is so ridiculous and over the top. It's amazing. I love all the Evil Dead films. Evil Dead's great. Evil Dead 2, it's basically almost like a remake of the first one. I know it's technically a sequel, but it basically just did the first one all over again in the beginning, and then just added the sequel in later on with the story and stuff, and Ash just kicking ass in the fucking middle of the woods and stuff, chopping his hand off, the hand of his giving a middle finger, putting a chainsaw on his hand. Groovy. So great. I love it. Bruce Campbell is amazing. The comedy in this movie is laugh out loud hilarious. It's so violent and over the top. It's beyond ridiculous, but it's ridiculous in the best way possible. This is directed by Sam Raimi, and this is just this is my favorite, it's one of my favorite Sam Raimi films. Spider-Man 1 and 2 is up there too, but I love this movie. It's Evil Dead. Evil Dead has a cult following for a reason. There's a TV show, for God's sakes, about Evil Dead. That's how much of a popularity this franchise has, and for good reason. It's amazing. Coming in number 4 is Creepshow. Creepshow is definitely one of my favorite anthology stories. Trick or Treat, I still think, is the best horror movie anthology story. Season of the Witch is still good. Halloween 3 is still really great. Creepshow is my second favorite horror movie anthology story. It's just it's a kid reading a comic book, and you're seeing the stories all within the comic book, and it's really cool. Some stories don't work, some stories are ridiculous, like the Stephen King story, when he's slowly turning into a plant. Really ridiculous. Even the bug story is not as good, but the best ones are really good. Like, when the grandfather dies and stuff, the very beginning story with Ed Harris, that's a really good story. The Crate is one of the best ones because it's darkly comedic and stuff, with the monster in the crate under the stairs. That's really cool. My favorite is the one with Leslie Nielsen. That is my favorite story in Creepshow, when he basically kills the wife and the lover, and then he slowly gets haunted by the spirits of the wife and the lover and shit like that. Best story ever, and I love Creepshow. This is George A. Romero, and it's so well directed. It's also Stephen King and stuff, and I absolutely love everything about Creepshow. It's such a great movie. It's ridiculous. It's got the 80s cheese, but that's what adds the funness and the entertaining value of Creepshow. Such a good movie. Coming in number 3 is Here's Johnny. That's right, The Shining. The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick. This is one of my favorite Kubrick films of all time. I love this movie. It's long and unsettling and very atmospheric, and it gets under your skin. It is such a clever, thought-provoking, very profound film, and I love every second of this film. It's so good. Jack Nicholson's amazing as Jack Torrance. This is like a perfect performance. Like, he is just so downright insane. Jack Nicholson is born to play crazy people. He is fucking crazy, and he is so good in this movie. Shelley Duvall, a lot of people don't like her in this movie. I think she's really great in this film, especially what she had to do, like, in real life on set, like what Kubrick had to do to get a good performance out of her. It shows in this film. It really does show. The little kid's really great. Scatman Crothers was really great. Everyone's so good in this film. Like, everyone's talked to death about The Shining, so you all know why it's great. It's great because it's one of the best horror films ever. Everything about it is iconic, and yeah, it's amazing. It's The Shining. Coming in number 2 is the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. Yes, Wes Craven, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. So many good, amazing horror filmmakers are not alive. We don't get horror movies like we used to in the 80s. A Nightmare on Elm Street's so great. I love the concept. I love the story. I love the characters. And I love Robert Englund. Robert Englund is so great as Freddy Krueger. No one can be Freddy Krueger but Robert Englund. Jackie Earle Haley, he tried. He's a good actor, and he did try, but he's no Robert Englund. Robert Englund is put on this earth to play Freddy Krueger, and he's amazing. Heather Langenkamp is great, Johnny Depp's great, all the other characters are really great stuff. The concept and the idea of this film, especially when it came out, was so unique and so original and so scary that this terrified audiences in the 80s. Like, it was just so messed up. Someone who can get into your dreams, and when you die in your dreams, you die in real life. That is a terrifying premise and concept, and it's genius. I love the sequels, not all of them, mostly like Dream Warriors and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Those are like the really great sequels, but you can't beat the original. It's the original. It's so good. And my number 1 favorite horror movie of the 1980s is, what the fuck else do you think it is? It's The fucking Thing. Yes, John Carpenter's The Thing. The Thing is such... It's so good to me. This is a monster movie done perfectly. The atmosphere, the cinematography, the performances, the direction, everything about this movie is so fucking perfect to me. I love this movie. And when people say they don't get it, they're just like, I don't get why it's so good. I don't get it. I'm like, how do you not get it? It's masterful filmmaking. The score, the shots, the performances, just the subtlety and the practical effects, everything is genius about this movie. It's so good. There's even some pretty good comedic scenes. It's so great. I love this movie. I love Kurt Russell in this film. He is so great as McCready. I love Keith David as Childs. I love a lot of the other performances. They're not very known actors, but they're all really good. And every death scene is so freaking memorable and so gruesome and just so fucked up. Everyone knows the paddle scene where the guy gets his hands ripped off. That is crazy shit. And I can't, like, who cannot talk about the ending? The ending to this movie is genius. It is so good and so unsettling and so bleak and so thought-provoking. It just leaves you with this empty, bleak feeling and just this scared feeling because you don't know. Is one of them a thing? Is one of them not alien? Like, you don't know. Did they kill it? Did they not? You don't know. Is one of them gonna kill each other? Are they both just gonna freeze to death out there? It just leaves you with this very thought-provoking and just this very empty feeling. And you just don't know what's gonna happen with these two characters. And it's genius. It's genius. I love John Carpenter. I love his films. The way he directed this film, I don't know why he didn't get nominated for Best Director for an Oscar. Like, it's so genius, this film. I love this movie. It's one of the best horror films I've ever seen. It's hands down the best horror film of the 1980s, in my opinion, obviously. So yeah, that was my top 10 favorite horror movies of the 1980s, from 1980 to 1989. So in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this top 10 list? If not, give me your guys' top 10 favorite horror films of the 1980s and your guys' opinions. Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like, subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.